Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of KSP Diaries. And this is one of those hangouts that I am really, really anxiously looking forward to. It is how to get your kids to love healthy food. And I'm sure this is one question that all parents, and I'm not saying only moms, but parents across the country want to know. And to answer that, we have three fantastic, passionate foodies on the show. Okay. One is Madhuri Iyer, who's just launched her book called the Supermom Cookbook, and we're going to talk more about that. We have Dhvani Shah, who is a naturopathic nutritionist, weight loss and fitness expert, child nutritionist expert, and of course, author to the book Don't Just Feed, Nourish Your Child. And she's of course writes regularly for Kidsstoppress. So thank you so much. If you haven't read her columns already on Kidsstoppress, then you must do that after the show. And of course, we have Archana joining from Archana's Kitchen. She needs really no introduction. She's your go-to website at 5:30 in the evening when you're running out of food ideas and thinking, what should you have for dinner? And precisely why she gets over 1 million visitors every month on Archana's Kitchen and 21,000 subscribers on YouTube. Don't forget to check her channel out right after this hangout. So guys, you're all here because how to get your kids to love healthy food is one question that drives parents crazy. So I'm going to start with just starting with the first question that we've got, which is how do you get them and how do you catch them young? How do you develop those little taste buds? So Madhuri, Madhuri's kids, by the way, are 23 and 27.
Well,
so she's the veteran. So I'm going to start with her and then move over to Archana.
Yeah, I just feel moms should just be experimental in the kitchen. Not worry too much about what the kids will eat or not. Just let them be. Just gradually introduce them to new things. Initially, it can be small quantities of like a different kind of rice. Like if they're used to rice, then add something more to that same rice. So they know it's rice, but it could be a Chinese fried rice or a pineapple rice or just something different. Yeah. And then that way, slowly you build up a repertoire. And if it's noodles, then something. If they're older kids, you tell them something about where the noodles are from. Put some vegetables in it. If you're non-veg, you can do shrimp and chicken and. So it's a gradual process. It doesn't happen overnight, but once they develop those taste buds, kids are just absolutely open.
Okay, Archana, your experience.
I'm with Madhuri there, and whenever this starts training the children starts very young, as early as when they are like when you introduce food to them.
Okay.
So when a child spits out baby food and says this is not nice too. And then you say, oh, my child is not eating. We don't have to get anxious. You have to just keep trying. So that process of trying, okay, he is going to eat the yogurt because I belong to, he needs to start liking yogurt. He needs to start liking spinach. So you try the first time, second time, you follow the same rule as you do as when you're for babies as they grow up.
Right.
So, and along with the dish that they like, you also have to give a few other things that you want to introduce. And so eventually, when there is no choice for them, they will start beginning to develop these. So the moment
I've often had parents always say, and maybe Dhvani, you can share your experience, given that a lot of parents come to you about nutrition and how to go about the right way, is that parents try all of this, but they finally just give up. I've tried it. Let me give up now. I mean, how many times is the child going to go hungry, and then then the child gets whiny, cranky, tantrums start happening. So, what do you tell?
I think that is the most common reason why most children do not like new food. So I have seen parents being anxious to try new food than the children. They'll say, no, I know my child will not eat this. So ultimately, they never try it.
Right.
Secondly, if they are fed up of trying it, probably it's more of forcing the children. It is more of making it like a task rather than making it a fun process. So if they usually do it with an activity that the children like, or if they do it with a food that the children children like, the children are more adaptable to it.
Right.
And we also have a common myth that if you need vegetables, it has to be like a sabji or a salad bowl. But
Yeah.
like, for example, if we make vegetables like on a kebab stick,
Yeah.
that is so much more interesting for the children. So we need to break these stereotypes with
Right.
children, that
Right.
a roti should not even be a roti. It can be a wrap,
Exactly.
it can be a quesadilla.
Yeah.
So these stereotypes, usually when you break with children, they enjoy food a lot more better.
Right. That's actually quite interesting.
Absolutely
Right.
right there.
I think we're also very stuck that, example, in Indian homes, lunch has to be roti, sabzi, dal,
Yes.
chawal, or, it has to be your comfort food. I think we're also a little, as parents, maybe sometimes afraid of kind of trying new
Yes.
things. I think you're quite. Archana, what's your experience been with all the stuff that you've been doing and comments that come to you and feedback that comes to you? Do you agree, disagree?
I completely agree with what she's saying. It's important to not give up. It's important to keep giving them, not give up on trying to make them eat a certain type of food, because the nutrition needs to go in. Children need to grow, and it takes a lot of patience and effort to be consistent.
Right.
And so it's not that, as she rightly said, there are different ways you can present a roti, in the form of a quesadilla, in the form of a wrap. And that's exactly what I do as well, because you need to make the food interesting. And especially when you pack kids' lunch boxes, it's boring if you just keep roti sabji every day, because children are not enjoying it. You probably have to put in the vegetable into a quesadilla, put it into a sandwich. It's okay. I mean, if there is a good and a bad that is mixed, yeah.
Yeah. Also, my other question would be that here we're talking of, and this is a reality in Indian homes, right? Parents or mothers don't cook anymore, or it's not their primary role, right? So while we're the ones who can come up with the fun stuff, we're not the ones who are executing it. So when you're saying that, I'm thinking of putting it into the quesadilla or whatever, how does one go about? Do you feel like that's a huge change, or that's
No, it starts very simple. I think the stocking up is very crucial here. Like, that is something the mom probably has to do, whether you're ordering your shopping, your groceries online, or you go out, on a weekly basis, you do your shopping. So the stuff is at home. Now, whether you have somebody to help you in the kitchen or you're doing it yourself, the important thing is you must have the ingredients.
Yeah.
Then whether you're doing a kind of a lasagna where you're doing your spinach, into the lasagna, so the kids are eating their spinach, but they're not seeing it as spinach. They're seeing it as a pasta dish.
Yeah.
So that's very easy to do, but you must have the lasagna at home.
Right. So, and also the ideation process, right? That I think creatively, see, we're all foodies in the room right now, but if you are not a foodie, if you've always detested those vegetables as much as your kids do, and then expect them to eat it, you're never going to be able to come up with these creative stuff that all you guys are mentioning, right?
So I think a point where I'm kind of trying to work on very hard is to break that monotony of making the everyday food, because it's very monotonous. And you're completely right in the fact that all of us are such independent women these days, and we do delegate, and it's absolutely okay to do that.
Yeah.
So as Madhuri rightly put it, we need to just plan for the week. Create a weekly meal plan. It just takes about 15 minutes, and tell your house help or the cook, this is what you need to be shopping for the week, and this is what we're planning, and here's what you need to do for it.
Right.
So take about 15 minutes to plan, and delegation of grocery shopping and menu and cooking can be done if you just plan for that week. So, and that's where we come in, right? The websites and the cookbooks that are there, and
yeah. And the ideas are all there. It's just a matter of getting on there, opening it, and seeing. I mean, it's
absolutely.
And I think along with planning, what we can also do is transform day-to-day food into something interesting. Like, for example, I don't think children would ever love bangan ka bharta.
Yeah.
But if you just put it on a pizza base, it's like a bangan bharta pizza.
Yeah.
And you don't need to train your cook to make fancy food. You don't need to use extra equipment to
Correct.
do this. Or
Correct.
just put your sabzis in a toasty and put some sesame seeds, so that's a sesame toast. You know,
Right.
we can transform our daily food,
Right.
traditional food, into something
Exactly.
interesting.
And you know, the other great thing is to give it another name.
Right.
Like, you know, that appeals to kids, especially the younger ones, where, you know, the same thing you're saying, you call it a, you know, a sesame
Right,
toasty, you call
Yes.
it a, you know, like a fancy name.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, that is what they see on television. It's being marketed.
Yeah.
And they are sold on that, right?
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
But do you feel this
know?
whole concept of sneaking in the nutrition is kind of contradicting to making them love food? Like, I mean, you need to love spinach, you need to love spinach. So one is okay if you have like a really fussy eater, but otherwise to just make them just love food the way it is.
Yeah, but see, initially when they're small, they don't understand why they're eating the
Right.
spinach, right? So you sneak it in, but they do develop a taste for it.
Okay.
Once that happens, then, I mean, it's a win-win
Right.
for everybody,
Right.
you know?
It's important to develop the taste, and to develop the taste takes time all the time, and that is something that we have to accept. The taste, even for us. So you go, and if you've never been to a Middle Eastern country, and you say, "What is this baba ganoush so bland?" But it's actually nice when you actually pair it with a lot of different things. It takes time, and so it's similarly for the kids as well. And we need the patience. We need to develop the patience and not give up. And about sneaking in, well, I don't do that completely, but what I do is state the facts. You know, when I was a child, I didn't like it just like you, but over time I began to like it. Just taste it with this; it'll be nice. So kind of excite them a little bit about the food.
Do you have the three bite rule? That's something that's like a proven fact that if the child takes 3 bites, then he's going to kind of get into the process, and that's the only way of rejecting or accepting food, right?
I also think we need to break the stereotype. Like,
Right.
for example, if we just introduce a spinach like a sabzi, he might hate it all his life because of the sabji.
Yeah.
So if you try it and
Thing to think about is just saying that sabji is actually nice. I mean, when you actually create that atmosphere on your table, hey, this is good. I love this soft pulkas with this nice palak paneer. We create an atmosphere as well.
Yeah, true. I want to also bring in a lot of emphasis on nutrition versus plain calories. Everybody, like, you know, we get the parents today are so conscious. They're standing on the weighing scales all the time. The next time, you know, you're at a play date, and you know, one mom will tell the other mom, "Oh, you've lost so much weight. You're looking so good. I'm not eating this. This is too many calories." So kids are imbibing all of this, right? So I think it's a conscious effort for all of us to tell our children that, listen, one is nutrition, the other is calories. And, you know, so do you guys want to...
Actually, I'm very glad you brought this up, because a lot of mothers are worried that my child is underweight, my child is overweight,
Right.
my child needs to be this height for his age. So what I would like to tell you, moms, is every child is different. We have a different build-up, a different constitution, a different need. So I think we should stop judging children on their charts,
Yeah.
you know, and rather give them body type nutrition. So children are actually of 4 different body types. So if he's meant to be a lean child, you cannot expect him to be a chubby baby. You know, that would make him ill. And if he's meant to be a little overweight, if he gets lean, he will lose out on all his, you know, his glow, his micronutrients. So let the child be what he is and feed him accordingly.
Right.
Know his likes, dislikes. Children are very intelligent, so they will know what suits them, what doesn't suit them. Give them foods accordingly, adjust the quantities, adjust the time of the day when they eat their main meals. So that is what matters, rather than just counting 5 grams of protein per meal, or say 2
Archana, do you feel like it's getting very clinical and it's important for us to emphasize on empty calories like we were chatting about?
No, I think she's right there. As in, you have to understand your child. Every child is different, and child will say, "I'm full," and respect that, and then keep feeding them more. But continue to feed what you're feeding, and the healthy, and all the ways that we bring in the different types of food. But we should understand that they become, and a lot of times they might not be breakfast people, they might have a few morsels, but at 11 o'clock snack is when they feel hungry, and that's when we give them all the good stuff. Or when they come back from school, they come back really hungry, and capitalize on that time to give in things that are nutritious at the same time tasty. So
Right.
I think you're completely right on that point. It's very important to judge our own children and not compare with any other child.
Very
Absolutely,
important.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also think that this whole thing about, packaged and processed food versus freshly cooked food,
Absolutely.
right? Because that's where your
Absolutely.
calories and your sugar will just go in, and you'll just be
Yes.
ignorant about
Yes.
it, right?
So even say for example sugar,
Yeah.
even brown sugar, once a food is processed, even the oats these days we get is processed. So once it goes through the mill, it is stripped of all the nutrients.
Right.
So it is just eating flavorful fiber, or just
Yeah.
eating a fad rather than eating any nutrition.
Right.
So if you want to have a fiber, a roti has much better fiber than the oats.
Right.
So it's
But
important
even
to
to say that the
break
old-fashioned oats which have not been
Yeah,
steel
no,
cut,
yes,
those are
yes.
fine. Like
Those
the
are
Quaker
fine,
oats, those
right?
are fine. Yeah,
Yes.
they're milled,
Steel
so that's
cut oats are perfectly
Are the
fine,
best.
but the rolled oats, the processed
Right.
oats, 2-minute quick
quick
cooking.
cooking.
Yeah.
So if we were to take this scenario in India, which would be the one oat thing that people should look out for, right? I mean,
So the first thing is the ready to make oat porridges.
yeah. So,
flavor,
so not
flavor
to
oats.
stick to the ready to
Yes.
mix
porridges,
oat
and the
porridges,
2-minute
2-minute oats. Those are not happening.
Not-
But your regular oats, steel cut oats, which you
are
get in the
fine.
market, are full
Yes.
of nutrition.
So do not buy a branded oats packet.
Okay.
Buy a loosely packed steel cut oats, because
Okay.
those are not processed.
Okay.
All branded oats are processed.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
And in fact, even something like an organic dalia,
Yeah.
nowadays you get sprouted organic dalia.
Yes.
That's fantastic
Right.
too.
Yes.
It's easy for them to digest. And it's a very nice breakfast thing. And the other thing I just wanted to add here is, instead of adding sugar or brown sugar, you could put dry fruits.
Yeah.
You could put
Yes.
nuts.
Yeah.
So it
Yes.
gives them that little sweet that they want, but at the same time, this is healthy calories.
Right.
So that's the difference.
Right. Archana, your take?
Same here. So I don't buy processed food at all. That's been my thing from the beginning. But of course, we do buy processed food. Processed food in the form of jeera and rice, and they're also forms of processed food, right?
Yes.
So it's not that we're completely. So things, our processed food is that is tinned and ready to eat.
Yes.
Tinned and ready
Your
to eat.
cereals, right? Your cereals are full of
Tinned
sugar.
and ready to eat foods. Yeah, so as much as possible. So it's not that we can completely stay away from them and shun them, and we have to be aware that we have to create an awareness with ourselves and apportion them in our lifestyle. So yes, it's okay to have a little bit. At the same time, this is a process of educating our children. You cannot ban them from eating all these things, but make them aware by educating. Hey, you know what? We had 2 days of processed food this week. We had 2 days. Let's have something else. So give them another option. Let's have an idli.
I
Let's have
totally agree with her.
I would like to
Limiting
add,
it is very important.
the use of
Because
ketchup.
yeah.
She wants to mention.
Yes, the use of ketchup, because these days children don't even eat a roti without
Yeah.
ketchup, and
Yeah.
that's the maximum of
Right.
processing, sugar, salt, additives,
Honey.
preservatives added. Yes.
Honey is a great option to substitute, and you start training your kids very early with honey and jaggery. I mean, natural sweetness.
Yes.
For example, adding sugar to a smoothie, soak some dates in the milk and then blend it along with your smoothie. And the ways we can incorporate the sugar tooth into the the food. Yeah, I agree with you. Honey, ketchup, yeah.
And jams, right? We can't
Jams,
forget
yes,
those.
jams.
My children eat jams. We all love jams, but it's okay. So, and we need to make sure we create an awareness as to, this much jam is good. You make them aware, so they learn. So don't ban it. So markets are nice.
I do agree with that. Don't ban it. And also there's jam and there's jam. You get a strawberry preserve, which is almost fully like a homemade thing.
Yeah.
And then you get that funny mixed fruit thing with food color, which is pretty little stuff. you really don't want to go there, So
Yeah.
I mean,
you can make healthier choices.
Absolutely.
Right,
Like we said, my kids like pizza, but they can't eat the Domino's, but they do eat the thin crust which is made somewhere else, or they eat the pizza which is at home. And similarly to the jam, when they eat jam, I tell them, hey, this is the portion that you should eat because eating beyond this is not good for you. Educate them. So
Sure.
when they grow up, you make them aware of the foods that they eat. So when they become independent, what are we trying to do? We're not trying to stop them from eating, but making them aware that what is healthy, and when they become independent, they're able to make their choices. So
Okay.
it's important to
I
do.
also think we should give them a substitute.
Right.
If not a jam, then what?
Right.
If not a packet of potato chips, then what?
Right.
So when we always have a substitute ready, it is easy for children to wean off these foods and like natural foods better.
Like my logic here is very simple. So I hate giving my kids those packet smileys and packet fries that you get. And I said, don't eat them at the birthday party. I will make sure that when you're home, I'll make you a fresh batch of potato chips.
Right.
Those
Absolutely.
French fries which you want at home, I will make them at home for you.
Yes.
Because and now they've understood that that is high in sodium content. It is processed.
Yes.
It's kept in the fridge for 21 days.
Correct.
So I'm completely,
Yes. So it is absolutely okay to give your children fried food if it's made at home. It's absolutely healthy.
Yeah.
But giving the packet food, even if it is a baked snack, it is much more unhealthy.
Absolutely, because you're talking about preservatives, chemicals, all kinds of stuff going into it. Yeah.
Now I'm coming back to recipes for the families. So the general consensus, and a lot of people have written to us that there are always separate meals cooked for the child and separate meals cooked for the rest of the family, and that's how the child has been raised. So I would say that, and I'm sure all of you guys are going to agree on to this, is the recipe or the menu has to be consistent for all. Do you guys agree, disagree?
Absolutely.
Or you're going to just drive yourself crazy preparing lots of many different
I think healthy food is healthy food. Whether you're 2 years or 20 years old or 80 years old, healthy food is it's ubiquitous, so everybody eats the same thing. And okay, the little kids might have a little less chili in it. Right. Green chili, red chili, you can reduce, but otherwise it's the same.
Archana, do you get a lot of requests saying that, okay, your meal plans are, the recipes are great, but how do I customize it? Or, or my kids will not eat this, so this is my meal plan and this is my child's meal plan.
Well, I do have like a kid's lunchbox meal plan that I share.
Yeah.
But overall, I do believe that from the beginning, as Madhuri rightly said, if there is a less chili, it's okay. Because over a period of time, we have begun eating less chilies. And I can't even eat a spicy food outside. I just have a stomach upset. So, which is all good, right? So, and once in a while. So, but having a good family, at least one meal a day with the family is, and having a common food and not that it's cooked separately. So it enables everybody to understand that we are a family and we eat together and it's the same common food. And we're all nuclear families right now working. It's not that, a lot of us, it's not that us are living in joint families too, but it's important to have going forward, it's important to make the next generation understand that you can't just keep cooking for 10 different people.
Absolutely.
And I would like to emphasize that it is important to teach the children the traditional food that they've grown up to be.
Right.
Like they are Indians. They are meant to digest Indian food, Indian grains, Indian spices. So it is very important to make healthier, interesting versions of Indian food.
Right.
Rather than just making continental food, European food,
Right.
And coming to chili, most parents these days just avoid chili for children.
Right.
So what happens is they don't develop their taste buds. Unless you have chili, unless you have the lemon, unless you have the bitter, or you have a little bit of sweetness.
Hing and haldi. I remember Dhvani's actually
Yes.
written an article for us on 5 spices your
Yes.
kids should definitely eat. So you have to read that one. It's
Yes.
really interesting. And
So,
chili is one of them where
Of
she
course,
recommends.
with the medicinal benefits, they develop the taste buds. So
Correct.
if the taste buds are not developed at a young age, when they grow up, they'll be fussy. They won't try new foods at restaurants or when you're traveling. So it is very important to, post the age of 2, give your child the food that your family eats.
Right.
So it is completely safe for them. I think mothers are more paranoid than the children.
It's not about paranoid. I think it's just become the ease of cooking.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to.
Okay, I'm just gonna rush this a little because we have a lot of questions coming in. Next question is on dairy and whether to eliminate dairy or to keep dairy, because a lot of parents are thinking of eliminating dairy completely from a child's meal and going vegan. So, guys, your take on
I
it?
think this is my favorite topic.
This is Dhvani's favorite topic, and you need to be a little louder.
Okay. Because most parents, most children these days are lactose intolerant, at least primary lactose intolerant. So completely fine if they cannot have 2 glasses of milk a day. Please don't force feed them because it causes distress in the stomach. Secondly, the milk nutrients are much more absorbed if they are in the form of yogurt or buttermilk, right? If you want to go completely vegan, please feel free to do so, because you get all your nutrients from seeds, from sprouts, from grains, from vegetables. So your child has a healthy diet in spite of not having the dairy. So you need to know whether it is a choice or it is an intolerance. So if it is an intolerance, please immediately go off dairy. And if it is a choice, start with avoiding milk first and then gradually cut down the milk products. Like
I want to ask you about soy milk and almond milk.
Yes. Soy milk I usually don't recommend a lot because it has a hormone balancing factor called estrogen. So it does not agree well with all body types.
Right.
Almond milk, sesame milk, rice milk, coconut milk, I think they are pretty safe options, nutrient-rich options, easy to digest options for kids. So you can safely switch over to these.
And there's a lot of emphasis on soy for all the proteins, thinking that a lot of vegetarians get
but
proteins.
in fact, chickpeas or seeds like chia seeds, sesame have much more digestible protein than soy does.
Okay.
And soy has a lot of saturated fat, which these pulses do not have.
Sure. Okay. Archana, your take on going vegan?
I'm pretty neutral, and as Dhvani rightly mentioned, if you are allergic, then yes, there are lots of different options. Indian food predominantly has so many different choices to add to the nutritive value of for vegans essential. As opposed to having milk and not milk, and that your parents force a lot of milk into the children saying it's going to give calcium, well, I don't kind of agree to that, because I stopped milk way ahead of time for my boys, and they live on like 2 liters of yogurt a day because that's they love it, right? Plain yogurt. And so there are various different forms of calcium and protein that can get into the system if the child is not able to digest milk right in the morning before rushing to school. So we really don't have to stress out. There are ways we can substitute that calcium and protein, which people assume comes a lot from milk. Yeah. Am I right, Dhvani? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, next question we have is on the new foods, new power foods, supposedly that are taking on, right? So whether they're okay for children to have them, which is like your kales and quinoas and couscous,
chia, and right, absolutely. Yes, they are very good foods, but they also burn a hole in your pocket.
Right.
So if you go in for kale, you must remember that the Indian greens like your fenugreek, methi, your suwa bhaji, your red mat leaves are equivalent to kale. Okay. And if we go for something like quinoa, you have til, you have amaranth seeds, rajgira, which are equivalents. So we do have equivalents. The only problem is it has not been glorified.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So yes, these foods are good, but I feel rather than burning a hole in your pocket with these, use it once a week, but emphasize more on the Indian origin ingredients.
Yeah, in fact, I also feel, also things like sprouts. Right. We do so much of sprouting, and that just, the enzymes which are there in the beans and seeds get amplified.
Right.
And that's easier to digest for children as well. So I think sprouting, which is already a tradition we have, is something we should do a lot more of, you know, which is not so big in the West. I mean, the Chinese do a lot of sprouting too, but it's our tradition, so we should definitely put
Eating
it aside.
local,
Right. Archana, your take.
yes, eating local, eating fresh, eating non-processed. That's the motto. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can have the fads and I mean, not the fads, the trending foods that are there, and it's okay. But there are local foods like from Rajgira to ragi to bajra, jowar, kale, spinach, amaranth leaves. Call it tandakire, or they call by different names in different regions. So we have a lot of local foods that actually provide adequate nutrition, which can be transformed into a couscous, amaranth, or a foxtail millet, which is time, which can be made into a tabbouleh, or broken wheat dalia can be made into, bulgar wheat,
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, we just have to make ourselves aware what is the Indian equivalent, local equivalent. Also for the fact that we don't deprive a South American country of its local food, that's quinoa.
That too.
Yes, again, ghee, a very, very good superfood for children.
Yeah.
So, developing immunity, developing their memory, getting a good bowel movement, getting healthy bones, ghee is the superfood and not olive oil.
Yeah.
So,
And olive oil is also good. I mean, I wouldn't
Yes.
compare one with
But I would
another.
think that it's right for the right food that you're cooking, right?
Yes.
Like olive oil
Yes.
in Indian food would be like a disaster, I'm assuming.
Oh,
right?
yes.
But it's good for salads. Like you take
Yeah, but
a
not for like the high
olive
heat
oil.
cooking.
Yeah.
Because when
Indian
we
food.
use spices, the ghee helps digest and bring out the essential oils of the spices. So if you're cooking Indian food, please use your ghee, please use your coconut oil,
Yeah.
peanut oil.
Yeah.
That's what will balance it out.
Also a big debate going on in the oil that is right for your family. So there's peanut groundnut, there's rice bran, there
I've
is
been using rice
Yes.
bran. to
so
be
any
honest.
any
It's-
feedback?
Frankly, I feel we must use oil seeds.
Oil made out of
Or
seeds.
made out of seeds. Even peanut, sesame, mustard, rather than going in for husks, because the seeds have a balanced oil texture, balanced chemistry.
Right.
Again, Indians are more adaptable to peanut oil, to sesame oil, rather than olive oil, because traditionally, what olive oil is healthy, Indians will never be able to like
Right.
the flavor. You know,
Right.
the virgin first oil that comes out of the olives, which what we get here is, I think, the third grade and the fourth grade.
Grade.
No, you
which
get
is-
the cold press
Yes, but
first.
what we generally use is the third grade, fourth grade for cooking,
Yeah.
flammable. Cold presses, I think, for salads, perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
It's good
I think
for raw
for
stuff.
raw
Yeah.
stuff, yes. For cooking, I think we should go with the Indian oil seeds.
Okay. Sorry, go on, Archana.
Carry on. Yeah, oils again, portion control. Huh. It's not that you're going to deep fry every day because it's good, this oil is good, or that oil is good. At the end of the day, oils are fats. So and as she rightly said, go in for seed oils. They're much more healthier, and as opposed to a lot of refineries oils. And portion your oils in your diet, even in the kids' diet. Even though they require fat, but right from a young age, train them to eat less oil, eat less fried food. We're actually training them when they grow big. So we are putting a seed into their minds that fried foods are unhealthy, and it's a treat and it's not a diet.
Okay, I'm just gonna take one last conversation point, which which Madhuri's book actually very rightly mentions, is about the right cooking utensils. A lot of people think that cooking non-stick, aluminium coated substances is very good. So the right cooking equipment for Indian food
Yes.
and everyday food. So
I think you need to divide the cooking equipment according to the dish you're making. So if you are frying, it is ideal to fry in an iron kadhai than a non-stick or a
yeah,
anodized vessel, because the extreme heat will result in the Teflon coating to leak in the food. And if you're just doing a toss-up, a non-stick pan is absolutely
and
fine.
your regular sabjis and dals.
Sabjis and dals, I still go with the old stainless steel vessels,
Yeah.
because those are absolutely neutral.
They are very
right.
safe, and it's actually
Yes.
the best option.
Right,
yes.
It takes a little more scraping and scrubbing, but it's worth it.
Yeah,
Yes.
because a
Yes.
lot of Indian households still continue to use your aluminium, which is like the
Which is
Yes.
pretty lethal.
Yes.
And then it
Yes.
pits, it has these pits, and then you're cooking stuff with tamarind and things in it, which is not good. It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
leaching.
I think
into it.
aluminium is only for water-based cooking. If you need
Like
to
so.
steam something, or if you're just boiling a little food, aluminium is safe for that. But especially when you have to scrub all
That's
your
great.
sabjis, that's not a very
It's
good
not,
option.
yeah.
Archana, you?
Completely. I cook. I got rid of all my non-stick about close to 10 years ago. More than that, I would think. And iron and steel, fantastic forms of cooking for everyday Indian food. And yeah. I even non-stick when exposed to heat, you get a little bit of those elements that come out, which you don't realize at all.
Yeah.
Teflon coated or anything hard anodized is still okay because it's an anodization process or over aluminum. Aluminum is a great conductor of heat, so it actually helps in even cooking. So when you anodize aluminum, it's a chemical process, and it actually does not react with any kind of food, so it becomes non-reactive. So it kind of becomes like non-stick, but but not, as she mentioned, iron is one of the best mediums, and stainless steel again is the next. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm just going to ask you guys one last question before we end. One last note on how to feed fussy eaters. Your one tip that you would give all parents on how to tackle fussy eaters.
I think is don't transfer your anxiety onto that eater. Just let them be. Feed them in small quantities, maybe more frequently, and don't stress because they will eat. They are hungry. They know how to survive. They look after themselves.
Okay, Dhvani, your take on
Right.
feeding fussy eaters.
Fantasy associated with fantasy characters. Secondly, make it a family meal table, meal time. And thirdly, transform it like a salad on a stick, like quesadilla roti.
Yeah, like she mentioned. Archana, your take.
Don't all what they said, and in addition, don't be affected. Parents, please don't be affected by peer pressure that your children have to eat on their own.
Right.
So it is okay to feed them, and it is okay to feed them, and because it's your child, it's your nutrition. Because a lot of times, parents, another pressure that they have is that my child is not eating on his own. I've put this food, he's not completed his beetroot, he's not complete. And that creates anxiety as well because he's not eating. So don't feel pressured. Keep the little distractions as they're growing up. They need to develop taste. They need to get the nutrition, and at the same time, they are going to learn. So and they are going to learn to eat by their own anyway. So it's okay to feed them a little bit, and to release your stress about them not eating.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm so glad we had this hangout because there's just so many questions that have been answered. So thank you so much, Archana, for taking time out and joining us from Bangalore. Dhvani and Madhuri, thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you
a
for
pleasure.
having us.
Bye.
Nancy.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.